Woot. Step 1 done. Step 2, it's loading. Step 3, where the hell is it? Step 4, there it is. Copy. Now, I'm curious what the URL is. Is it this d_? thing? It is. So I could totally cheat the system there. Okay. Red circle. Okay. Being all the notification boys. I should start being more consistent with my periods there. Beautiful. Move that out of the way. Pull up both of these in case I need chat. Because clearly I'm going to need chat. We have so many chatters. Okily dokily. So I am finishing this. We need to get some characters, some strings, and some roots. So assert that that's where we are. Advance past it. Then switch. Let me do. I'm going to try to abuse this system a little bit. What I'm going to want to do here is return 1 in the default case, which we don't need this. Right, context, error, diag, error, shit. I mean, so like, what if I said A? I think this just works in C#. I think C# is nice too. Right? So if I say in either C equals, well, A is an actual thing. M isn't, right? No, so C# doesn't allow it. So yeah, we can just say unrecognized escape sequence. But we're going to put it at the current location, right? So we can say var start location. So then start location, unrecognized escape sequence, advance, return 1. So for shits and giggles, we're going to say the low surrogate is current character and advance. So then we have some other cases to take care of. So let's say case, the obvious ones like n. What we want to do here is, what I could probably do is, yeah, actually, hear me out. I have the, no, I shouldn't probably do that. Let's keep it simple. Case n. We have the new line. We want to advance past new line. We want to set the low surrogate to the new line character. We want to return 1. Hello, Gears. How's it going? I think that's all I care about. And then at the consuming end, like we'll finish implementing this in just a second. I want to be able to explain what I'm thinking here. So when I'm reading a string, we're going to debug assert that current character is equal to this. And then in read rune, we can assert that the current character is that. Set it to a rune, set it to a string. So string builder, clear. What I want to check here, string builder, do I have access to append with surrogate pairs? I can do, not really. So what I'm doing, might not, I could do read-only memory maybe, but like no. Because what I'm trying to avoid is allocating extra memory if I have a multi-byte character in an escape sequence. That's a lot of overloads. It is. It's a lot of overloads. Doing this in C#, I don't want to duplicate my logic for constructing an escape sequence. Like, N is the trivial case, that's fine. But for like parsing Unicode code points and stuff out of escape sequences, I want to be able to just return a code point. I could return an int that just says it's the code point, but I don't have an option here for, I could maybe append format. We could look at the format specifiers, because then maybe I don't need the low and high surrogate, and I can just return the integer code point. So if I come over here, C# append string builder append format specifiers, or something like that, and see what we've got. Append format. So a format string supported by the parameter. So can I then C# format int to Unicode code point, format int as a UTF-32, for example. Because I can do car convert from UTF-32, but I want to append the value of a code point. So, I mean, x4 gives me the bytes. That's how I can print back what I'm getting. But how do I print out the value? How do I do the opposite? Because I want these from this. So I can print the specifier here to get UTF-32, but I want string builder append UTF-32. Can I do that? Append byte without formatting? No. Insert? Probably not. I think that's just append. You know, wait, I might just be stupid, because if it's returning, I just append both characters, like a dumbass. Right, so then I can say, look, we skip past the thing. We then say while not is at end, and current character is not this. Do a thing. If current character is not equal to this, then we can basically debug assert. You know, I could make it so that it stops at the end of line as well. A lot of times when you have like an unfinished string, if I put a string here, it will continue off here in some languages. Like I think C might accidentally do that. But I think, let's say, if not is at end and current character is not this, and current character is not equal to a new line, because we can just not allow new lines in our strings. So then, if is at end, then context diag error at the start location, which we have, it's token info start location. No, we don't have the location. We have the position, which we can construct from a location from. But let's instead say, you know what? No, let's do that. Let's construct a location. Let's say at new location. The location is token info position. Position minus token info position. File ID. That's good enough. So let's just say our location is this. Location this. What does high surrogate do? So I'm trying to read a Unicode code point out of an escape sequence. C# has 16-bit character types. So in order to get a full UTF-32, like a 32, well, I guess technically it's what, 21 bits per code point or something. But in order to get that, we need 2 characters, because 16 is oftentimes less than 21, or 32 in our case. So I have a couple of options. To play nice with C#, most of the good options are to continue to use the car type, because all of the strings rely on the car type to give you actual character data. The way that this works, low surrogate is your low, not necessarily 16 bits, but your low 16 bits in the UTF-16 encoding, and the high surrogate is the remaining 16 bits, the high 16 bits in the encoding. It's not quite that, but if I went back to, let me see if I can reopen this here. Somebody had an example. When I was doing, oh, no, I wanted that tab. If I go back to one of these Stack Overflow questions, so like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 8 bytes, or not 8 bytes, 4 bytes, 32 bits, are a UTF-16 encoded, fucking, shut up, UTF-16 encoded code point. My brain is not working right now. So converting it to a 32, UTF-32 encoding just turns it into an int, a 32-bit integer basically, so you can print it as hex. After decoding this into its integer value, the code point, it's this. So it's not like the low half and the high half of this, because otherwise you just have 1 in the high half and D161 in the low half. There's other things in here that represent the encoding that I am not going to explain right now, but it's the top and bottom half of the encoded value. We can look, I guess we could look at Wikipedia for it. Hold on. UTF-16 encoding Wikipedia or something. And they might have a visualization for you. Yeah, like here, there's the low and high surrogates. The dark mode doesn't like some of this blue stuff here, but maybe this helps a little bit. So you take the actual Unicode value, cut it in half or something, and apply this mask at the top of each value, because you only need this many bits total to represent all of the code points, because like I said, it's like 21 or 22 bits or something per code point. I think it's 21. So between the two, you don't need the full 32 bits. So you leave the first 7 to tell you if it's a surrogate pair, basically, which just means it takes 2 16-bit characters in this encoding. And it's these values, D8 and DC, plus whatever the actual value is for the lower 3, not 3, what am I thinking, but you know, both of these zeros in the lower half of this digit. You can just read up on UTF-16 encoding. So C# strings are UTF-16 encoded by default. So we're going to just play nice with C# and give it UTF-16 data, even though I am mandating that LIA source files be UTF-8. It's going to read in UTF-8 data, convert it to data encoded in UTF-16, and I'm going to deal with that, but anything I write back is going to be re-encoded back to UTF-8. We're going to treat it agnostic of encoding as much as we can. So what I want to do to get a full 32-bit code point, I've been kind of rambling on the same point. To get the full 32-bit code point, I need 2 characters, the low half and the high half, in UTF-16 encoding. For regular characters, that just means the low surrogate is this. I'm going to say that there's only 1 character. But hopefully all of that made sense, because I was not prepared to talk about it, and I'm not good on the spot. Let's go. So anyway, we have an error for... Sorry, I'm late. I was talking with some of my dad's old... I'm having a stroke. Sorry, I'm... Some of my dad's old cars with them. Cool. Old cars are fun. What kind of cars? Emoji variables when? Technically, right now, if we go look at the main token parsing thing, if it's an identifier start character, I need to add to this function, basically, and it'll just work. I've been programming the lexer in here with arbitrary Unicode in mind eventually. I just need to do it in a way that I can do in LIA, self-hosting eventually as well, without causing too many issues. So all I have to do here is, if it doesn't recognize the character, which, by the way, is hard coding the obvious ones. So if it doesn't match any of those, it's going to check for uncommon identifier characters, and it's going to keep using this pair of functions is identifier start and is identifier part to continue reading identifiers. So assuming I did all of that correctly, all I have to do to add arbitrary Unicode values is update what this function allows, and the rest of the lexer follows suit. So while technically not yet, also like with one or two lines of code changed, or a handful depending on how C# handles querying the classifications of characters in Unicode, a few lines, to just update these two functions, and the lexer will give us Unicode identifiers for free. So eventually, I just don't care right now. Back at what I was doing, we want to, if we're at the end of the file, we can just stop. We're going to error and say, like, I don't know, what does C# say for an unfit? It's going to tell us this is a new line in constant. That's fine. What happened to the C++ stuff? If you were reading over in development a couple of days ago, I was just not having a good time, frustrated. It started as an experiment to see if I'd enjoy writing in C++, and for all the easy stuff, I did. We got to link with LLVM, we got to link with Clang, we got all the fun stuff working, and it was great. And then I started trying to do things I didn't understand, and the whole point of changing what I was doing in the project was to not frustrate myself and just do the things that were fun for a short while. Because I'm having trouble not being burnt out or frustrated. Yeah, that's what that was about. And the initial reason to change the project was I just want to get the language working. So when I started having to fight my understanding of C++ and like 3 different projects doing slightly different things, it just wasn't worth it. Because I was linking with LLVM, so there were LLVM things to do, but for some of the things I was using the standard library, and for some of them I was building it myself, and juggling the 3 of those when I probably shouldn't have been. I don't know, it's harder to explain. Just brain refused. I got upset at C++. Anyway, so we're building here. We're going to say new line in string literal. That's a good start, right? And then we return. We got a string literal. It just hit the end of the line. That's probably good. Then, if it's not this, oh no, this is the new line in string literal one. If the current character is not this, and we're not at the end of the file, end of file reached in string literal, okay, then new line in string literal, because it's the only other case up here, right? So then otherwise, we can just, I think in all cases, let's go ahead and set token info text, string builder to string, and just store that. And these are the error cases. So then what we want to do here is, if current character is a new line, we're going to do some things. Int ncars, we'll say, is going to be read escape sequence as surrogate pair. Outcar lower, outcar higher. If ncars is equal to 1, well, here's all we gotta do. Is string builder append a single character, it's always going to be lower. So we can debug assert ncars is equal to 1 or ncars is equal to 2. Always going to append the lower. If ncars is equal to 2, also append the higher. So I can split it apart, not allocate too much extra memory for storing 2 characters. And that's that. If it's not the backslash, then string builder append the current character and advance. That should read an entire string literal. That's good enough. Then in a rune, we're going to do basically the exact same thing this loop is doing, but instead of putting it in the string builder, we're going to construct an integer. And I guess it's going to keep going into the big integer class. So let's say if ncars is equal to 2, then token info dot integer value equals Can I just say new big integer with a value? Can I take that? Can that work? I can. So I'm going to say car to UTF-32, higher, lower. Maybe I should do these in the same order. Let's higher, lower. Let's higher, lower. And then, just for some consistency with the C# APIs, we'll do that. Okay, so then we can say big integer of UTF-32. Else token info integer value is going to be the big integer of just the lower one. And I could probably inline this and say, like, token info integer value equals ncars is equal to 1 lower or that, and that's probably fine. I can do that. We'll be maybe explicit with the int cast, even though it's going to warn me to not do that. That's fine. In this case, then, we can do exactly the same thing, but for current character. And then we can do exactly the same check here. Now, the real question is, do we want an open character literal to span an entire line? If I do this, it's going to go to the end of the line. So what I really want to do then is, if we're at the end, we're going to say end of file reached. That's a thing. But maybe this case just doesn't matter. If we just say, I am curious what error C# says for this. It says probably too many characters in a character literal. I can do that. But it does also say, wait a second, it says new line in constant. Wow, interesting. I mean, I'm just going to say too many characters in character literal, which actually, now that I think about it, if you're at the end of the file, end of file reached in room literal, there's not too many characters, it's just missing. So then if the current character is not this, then we can instead say, and I don't, let's just capture the start location for both of these. I don't really like constructing an entire error location just for this. So then no error locations. Let me reuse the start location. Okay, end of file reached in room literal, that's fine. Here, too many characters in room literal. I'm just going to say while not is at end and current character is not equal to the new line. Advance, too many characters in room literal. That should eat up a bunch of things. And at this point, we have the integer value, we have the kind, we have nothing else we need to do. That should read all of the above. So all we have left to do now is implement this function here. So we've started at the backslash, we've hit the end. Let me grab the previous implementation I did in C++ here. That's source, that's not mine. Where is mine? I don't think I have mine open. I don't need that. Do I not have, oh, I don't, because I don't have it locally on my machine anymore, because it's over here somewhere, probably. Don't need that. Maybe need that. What tab did I have it open in? I guess I don't. I guess we'll use this one, github.com/iora acquire. So the current main branch still has the C++ version, because I haven't overwritten it yet. There's all the C++ build information that I don't need anymore. I'll probably have to do some for the dependencies still, but that'll get changed. So in choir, in lib, in lie, in lexer, we had escape sequence here. So read escape sequence here. I'm just going to go through each of these cases that I already pre-looked up and implement them in C# real quick, and then we should have all the core tokens and we can move on to parsing finally. Finally parsing. And by the way, we do have printing of tokens and technically the syntax tree, it's just I haven't implemented any syntax nodes, so that'll have to get done along the way here. So let's go alphabetical order. A. Cool. After A, we have a B. B. After B, that's a lot of hearts. Hello. We have F for the form feed. After the form feed, we have N for the new line. After N, we have R for carriage return. After R, we have T for the horizontal tab. After T, we have V for the vertical tab. After V, we have the backslash itself for the backslash. After the backslash, we have the quote itself. And after that, we have this, I imagine. Yep. And then we have Unicode and hex. So let's say a few things here. We need, I'm curious actually, before I do this, I always like to check compiler diagnostics for things. If I just say backslash lowercase u, this is an unrecognized escape sequence, straight up. If I said ff, that is just an unrecognized escape sequence. But if I say ffff, now it's fine. So what I'm going to do to make my life easier is be kind of stupid. We're going to say case lowercase u, but only when peak 1 is a hex digit. So my effects is digit in radix peak 1 16. And it's not value effects, it's syntax effects. Only when this and peak 2 and peak 3 and peak 4. Only when all of this, we're still going to return 1, so I don't need to break. I think. Right? This is a single character. What we're going to do here then is advance, and then I want to see if I can, I could parse an integer, convert it to a character, so I can't parse from a number, right? Like if I read parse, that's not gonna Unicode character. I don't know. But if I int parse, because it's going to be a hex, if I parse a hex digit, actually on that note, now I'm curious if it says u ff1, oh not 1, z, unrecognized escape sequence. Yeah, so it just dies on this, which is fine. I'll make it more fancy errors if I need to, but we're going to advance past the u. I want to then int parse, not def parse, int parse. And I want to parse not a string, but a read-only span of car. A read-only span of car. So I can say text as span slice position 4. And we want to read hex. So then we can say int low value is this, which then means we can say low surrogate is this, right? Because only 4 digits should be no more than 16 bits. So that should just work. That gives me that. So then we're going to do something stupid. Capital U 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay. 8, same thing. But this is just going to be int value is this. then low surrogate, not if, int. Why do I keep doing that? So car from UTF-32 into a string is not what I want. I want an int to surrogate pairs. So car surrogate is low and high surrogate. Car from UTF-32 is going to give me a string. I was right, 21-bit Unicode code point. So let me go ask C# int to surrogate pair. Is surrogate pair? No. Can I do this? I just don't want a string. I don't want it to allocate me a string. I want the 2 characters. I could do it myself, but right, because it's just going to keep pointing me to this function that we were looking at, but it returns a string. Are there related things? Rune? What is a rune? Rune. Oh, I'm glad we looked at that. Let's see. Rune. Decode. Get numeric value. So if I said new rune value dot try encode to UTF-16. What is this? Destination out in cars written. Okay. That's great. I just want the 2 characters though. Encode to UTF-16 is just going to put it in a span of car, which is technically good. It's not in a string, but I have to allocate that somewhere. I don't have. Can I stack alloc? Can I do that? What's the syntax for stack alloc? Can I do that? Does this have to be in the unsafe block? Oh, it's car array pair is stack alloc car 2 question mark. Now does this have to be unsafe? Is this car pointer pair? That looks right. So then I just need unsafe. So now the new question, if that's the case, which it might not be because I don't have the unsafe code allowed. God, I have no idea. Let's go see if not in solution in here. I don't know how to. Allow unsafe blocks true. Can I do that? Okay, so it's not pair here, it's pair here, first of all. Can I do that here? No. This is going to tell me that it has to be in the unsafe block. Pointer is going to be in unsafe context. Can I then grab this and say new span car pair 2? I then use this to decode to this and then say, then can I say, which one's the low and which one's the high? Encodes a rune to UTF-16 destination buffer, the number of characters. So I assume the first one's the high, so then high surrogate is pair of 0, and low surrogate is pair of 1, and then I return 2. Does that just solve my problem? Is rune a class? Rune better be a struct. It's a read-only struct, okay. So when Unicode scalar value, int value, then sequence length, replacement character, I mean, like, there's lots going on. I'm gonna see if this works. I didn't know about Rune. Rune is good. You move fast slow. Last thing I saw was you doing lexing. Well, technically, we're still lexing. This is the end of lexing. We're lexing Unicode stuff in a new code base. But yeah, we're on to parsing. Unless you meant in the Discord, in which case, also yes, we did this like, what, over the past 2 days. I'm trying to make the lexer actually kind of not suck. So it's a 800-line lexer at this point, and we're going to be using some of what I learned upgrading this lexer to do better parsing. So let's use some examples. So necessary cookies only, shut up. What I'm going to do is we are going to say, if you want to rephrase that, I'm not sure I know what you mean. We are going to, why not use a map for what? A map for what? So we want a string literal, or let's start with a rune. U 1D161. This is 000. There we go. This is one character. We want this character. In a string, we could do a double this. Why not use a map for what switch case? This one? I'm using it to check 9 characters in a row. What am I going to put in a map to check 9 characters in a row? I just don't understand what you're trying to ask me to do. Like for these ones, sure. But for these 3, we're parsing values. Well, these 2, we're about to have a third one. We're parsing values out of 8 characters. We can't just look up a map for 9 potential characters in a row. For every single Unicode value. So let's copy these escapes. These 2 should contain the same Unicode data. We are probably not going to be able to display it very well. Let's go see what our printer does. For strings, for characters, it's going to print this for... You need a lot of memory for that. Yeah, that's, what's the biggest 21-bit number? Anyway, so now that I'm in C#, I can, if the token's integer value is small, I'm gonna just print it. So if it's less than car max value, I guess, which is not necessarily what I want, actually. What I want is the biggest value that I can... Since we're doing it for printing purposes, I'm just going to make my life simple. We're going to come down here and say car.convert from UTF-32, which is going to give us a string. And that is going to be token integer value. Do I have like just, can I cast it to int explicitly? And then all I have to do is this, and that gives me something pretty. So these should print the same thing if I've got my printing logic right here, because we're parsing this into something here. Let's just find out what happens, because I'm curious. I don't actually know if this is going to work. We haven't tested it yet. So 221.55, what did I miss? There's an error way the hell up there. Break, okay. Do it again. Well, this did something. This did something. I think we forgot to advance all the characters. So what we're gonna do We advanced in some case. It didn't give us any errors. It just kind of happened. Because I'm just the most familiar with C#, and it bypasses a lot of the problems I was having in C++. I want to get the language working, not spend another 6 years learning C++. I thought I didn't have to do that much, but I really did. I can get more work done in this language, and that's all I want to do. I can still link with Clang and LLVM from C#. It requires a little bit of finagling, but if I go to my program, I double-checked that this code, very simple test Clang code, works. I can read a syntax tree from C# and get stuff. So I printed all the function declaration names with the function prefix, and otherwise just typed out whatever the thing was from the declaration for the entire translation unit. The one thing I don't know what this does, because I'm using it as a library, is things like include directories. So I will have to probably figure that out myself manually, but at least on Windows, I've got C# linking with libclang and LLVM. I have to specify this manually to get the libraries to work, so that might be part of my building and running setup steps, but we'll figure that out. Oh, I am getting errors. I'm just stupid. Too many characters in root literal. Yes, so we need to advance. We completely forgot to skip all of these characters. So when we hit U, we skip. When we hit U, we skip. But then we got a 4... Why am I having so many issues with things? God. Int I equals 0, I is less than 8, I plus plus, advance, and do exactly the same thing here, but for 4. And do it again. Now, I'm probably still not going to be able to print any of these, but that's fine. I'm still getting this problem. 112, too many characters in root literal, and 214. Well, that's just at. Hold on, did I not skip past? Hold on. Okay, if current character is equal to the thing we're looking for, advance, so actually even better, if try advance this, return, right? So then all the way down here, if try advance this, return. I'm just forgetting to consume tokens or whatever, left and right. Okay, so that works. So new problem. This command line just can't print Unicode characters. So with Windows enable Unicode in terminal. I don't remember how to do this. That's 15 years old. It might still work. Like, PowerShell might be able to, but no guarantee. Like, is it CHCP? What does this do? 437, that would do it. 65001. Invalid 65001. Active code page that. Run it again. Beautiful. Musical notes in both cases. So both forms of the Unicode parser look to be working. You can do all 8 digits at once to do a full up to 21-bit Unicode code point, or you can do 4 at a time for high and low surrogate pairs, which read differently. But both work. So there we go. Let's git commit parse strings runes. I have one more thing to add, but I want to get this in there. Parse strings and runes, including most escapes. We have one escape left, which is very, very similar, so it shouldn't take that long. When we're reading an escape sequence, we have you and we have you. Here, what we want to do is case case backslash x, we're going to start with 2. When we see 2, we're going to advance twice. I'm just going to do it manually this time, even though it should, I guess it'll inline or unroll this for me. What I want is this, 2. Exactly the same thing, but it's a hex number. And if it's x, but we only see 1, we just parse 1, like that. And then instead of 4.2, we just do this. And ideally, this means that I can also do things like xf and x0f. Maybe I do just force it to be 2 for consistency instead of copying C's wacky behavior, and we just only do this one. So 0f, that works. 0a is the new line. So let's see, what's, if I said like 3c, I don't know what that's going to be because I forget. That's not what I want. Exactly what range I'm working with. If I get into the 80s, I think I've got, hey, there's the less than character. So like, boom. Let's just do that. Git add and git commit. I should have just typed this. I was looking for something. Git commit add x as well. There we go. So then if I do something stupid like this, it will tell me there's an invalid character. Unrecognized escape sequence and too many characters in literal. It gives me the X anyway, because it's trying to do its best to understand what I meant. But it's an error, so it doesn't have to try that hard, because it's not going to ever make it to the output. So, boom. Then another thing I can try is at foo, at return, at foo bar. Let's see. What do each of these do? Token identifier, at foo, at return, and at foo bar. Cool. So for the identifier, what am I printing? Because technically, that's not what we want. For the identifier, we're printing the text value. So interesting. That is correct. I just found your channel. What kind of language is Laye? It's a C family language for general purpose, but also like lowish level, higher level than C development. We're not going for a full C++, but adding some features that are nice to have that C doesn't have, unifying some standards that are weird. And we're aiming to also do full C interop natively by treating Laye's compiler as a C compiler as well. In the short term, we are doing that by leveraging libclang. In the long term, we're going to write our own C compiler and C preprocessor as well. I've done it before, I've just never taken it to full compiler status because I am scared of trying to add all the extensions that are going to be necessary to parse actual C code. So short term, we're going to have Clang do the work, and then in Laye, I can say import stdio.h. And boom, I'm going to be able to import something along Zig and C3, yes. Hey, if you're coming here from like Soding, for example, doing C3 streams, hi, welcome, those were cool. I've been working on this off and on, in and out for years. Technically, this idea first happened for me back in like 2014, and the language has evolved ever since. The more cool languages have been coming out, the more I've refined my idea of what I want in this kind of language. So it's going to be similar to Zig, similar to C3, yes, but I of course have my own opinions that are going to influence the language greatly. It will be, in the end, nothing like Zig, and mostly nothing like C3. I don't know enough about C3 to really make that claim. Like, I don't know, I'm still kind of learning it. Zig is super on board with its comp time everything. We're going to have compile time execution, but not like Zig. We're still going to have probably like C++ style templates. I'm thinking the template syntax will literally just be template something, I32, N, and T, for example, for a struct vec that then has T of N elements, right? Like this will be the kind of thing where we're basically supplementing C structs with templates But without going so far as C++'s template metaprogramming, I'm not going to go that far. We just want the niceties of this. We're going to be, you probably see there, we have I32. We're going to, like a lot of modern languages are doing, predefine the widths of all of our integers. I think I'm going to remove unsigned variants and just have unsigned operators, which is a Java thing, which I'm afraid of, but it sounds good in concept and we're going to experiment with it. Worst case, I just add unsigned back to the language, and that'll be fine. Another thing we're adding on top of C is operator overloads, so I could do operator plus. If we go back to our template here for a struct, template, a vec nt operator plus that takes two vec nts, left-hand side, right-hand side, and returns the thing just like your standard function would, right? So I don't want to go overboard. I'm not promising something like C++ or even as big as Zig at the moment. I want to keep... Do you tend to have some FFI for templates? As you instantiate them, they will need some form of name mangling. Since I'm going to have operator overloads, that means having function overload resolution anyway. There will be name mangling by default, but it will be something you can disable. If I can pull up one of my other projects here, this is like the 200th version of this compiler I've written, so pardon. If I go to the previous compiler, which I just got burnt out on, we can take a look at some of the tests that we're running. More importantly, we can take a look at something like foreign here. Foreign is going to disable name mangling by default. You can specify the calling convention as some predefined enum, basically, of calling conventions. So this is the standard way of saying, please make sure this is C name mangling, which is none, and calling convention for the platform. Boom, that's easy. Structs will be applied whatever calling convention is necessary for the function. That'll kind of maybe be complicated, but also not really. So if the default layout of the struct doesn't match the calling convention, the call site will just have to reconstruct the parameter correctly anyway, which is just ABI conversion in the first place. That's not a huge deal. But if I go look at, I mean, somewhere in here we have foreign plus a name. Yeah, so like here, I auto-generated a bunch of raylib bindings, basically, for myself, and I renamed them. So raylib has this Pascal case style naming convention, which I can make the screen bigger so you can see. So the foreign symbol name is init window, but I don't like Laie having Pascal case, so you can rename the actual Laie symbol to init window. So foreign allows you to also override the name, which is in itself a form of mangling. So yes, there's lots of ways we're going to be doing FFI, and like I showed over here, I can just import stdio.h. This is going to be namespaced by default, but without name mangling, so stdio::printf will exist now. And what this is going to do is read the entire translation unit associated with this header file, and it's going to basically generate in the syntax tree the equivalent of these. Now, 100% semantics, unsure, because no, we didn't need to put in an LLVM issue to fix that color struct. That would be, I mean, he did just to see if anybody wanted to try to add ABI's support to LLVM, but nobody wants to, so it's not going to happen. LLVM does not handle ABIs for you, is the thing we were looking at. So one thing I have yet to 100% iron out is the semantics of what this header file imports and where and why. What I'm thinking is every import of a header file gets put into a single translation unit for this file. So all 5 of these imports are concatenated together into one translation unit, handed off to the C parser, and we get back the syntax tree and translate it, all the relevant bits at least, the declarations, into a Laie syntax tree that does all the importing for us. Yeah, it's an ABI problem. It's not a problem with LLVM. It wasn't a bug. They're just not implementing the ABI as a feature. So I had to manually reconstruct the ABI. to get that to happen. So I'm thinking we do a full translation unit for all of the relevant C imports, and I'm probably going to have to maybe say, yeah, no problem. It's a confusing topic, but no, it wasn't a bug. It was just the way it is. I want this to be as easy as it is. Import std.io gives you everything in std.io. The problem is C headers don't actually work like that. And I might have to finagle with the semantics to try to make something like this work. Because if I import std.io, I'm definitely getting printf. That's documented. But std.io could include anything. When I look at the actual syntax tree for std.io, I'm going to get all of the other dependencies that std.io uses to implement its interface, which could be more than is documented for std.io. It might be more than the public interface, which you already have happen in C. If I include std.io, I can access anything std.io includes too. But for these namespaced imports, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I could just say any declaration that was explicitly declared in that header file gets namespaced and everything else doesn't, and we don't import it. But then what if whatever you're importing is part of the public API? We have no idea the intentions of the header files behind the scenes, right? So this is where I think Zig tries to solve this problem with the C import system, where he breaks it up into 2 stages. You define all of your C imports in a single block, basically. So if I said like C import some block, and this is how you control what gets imported, all within a single namespace instead. So like this would be C foo, and then I could have C foo printf. I might have to do something similar to this. I don't know yet, but I might. I'm trying to see if I can get away with it's as easy as import a header file. And maybe it is. But like maybe these don't go into a namespace, maybe these are just global, so I don't have to worry about it, and you just printf. So imports.io gives you printf. I also have to be worried about some of the semantics of like, the reason I might do that is because import star from stdio.h would be the alternative, in which case I'm implying that you can namespace them, and I just said I don't necessarily know if I want to namespace them. I don't know, I'm rambling. I have a lot of thoughts about C imports. I'm thinking this is going to be my preferred solution, not namespacing C imports by default, so that we don't have that issue of what's actually in the public API and overlapping shit and shenanigans. Alternatively, I just renamespace, because like I said, I'm going to concatenate these all into a single translation unit. So this is the equivalent of include instead of import, all of these things. So I'm including std.io. Right, include blah, 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 blah. Then I can take the entire translation unit and basically copy its declarations for each import here. So this has an implicit as std.io, and this would be like stdlib has an as stdlib. But then if std.io includes stdlib, I could still std.io like malloc, right? Because malloc. If std.io includes stdlib and stdlib defines malloc, then I could have std.io and stdlib malloc, which is not bad. It's just maybe unintuitive. So the alternative is take the entire translation unit. There is no aliasing. This would become a syntax or a semantic error. You can't take a C header file and alias it. Or you can't take a C header file and import all of its elements. The only valid syntactic construct would be this form, and you get global. Right? Those are my 2 strongest options that I've kind of half had in my head and then solidified while rambling here. So if any of you have any cursory user preferences, like if you were to pick up a language and it told you you could use a C header file, which of those two options sounds like it's more intuitive to you? As a C programmer, I could go either way because I know the intricate details. But if you weren't super anal about programming language semantics like I am, maybe these don't make as much sense to you. So the options here are, let's say stdio and stdlib. Stdio includes stdlib. So that I could stdio malloc and I could stdlib malloc. The alternative is fucking no separation of namespaces, copy all exports for each declaration, scope, namespace. And then you get stuff like this. Stdio printf, stdio malloc, whatever. The alternative is just throw it all into the global namespace by default. And potentially, instead, we could say, or make this the only valid syntax instead, or consistent C. So I guess there's 2.5 or 3 options here. Is there any particular reason why you chose to be able to import header files? Because I really want Laye to feel like an extension of C, where a lot of other languages that claim to be C's successors or a better C, in my opinion, fail, is actual interop with C at a very comfortable level. You have to go through a lot of ceremony in Zig to get C imports. What other ones are there? Actually, C3, I don't remember actually if C3 has anything akin to this, but I've seen people manually write bindings to C functions in C3. They have very similar syntax, sure, but they're still manual bindings you have to copy over. Like, the only language that did this right was C++, because you just include a C header file, albeit at this point with a couple of preprocessor directives required to make sure that it's compatible and whatnot, but you just include stdio.h if you wanted to. Isn't like a trivial implementation of C stdio in C++. You could just extern C and then include stdio.h, and it's not technically that trivial, but boom, that's a C++ compliant-ish definition of C stdio. Again, only for trivial cases, I know. It's hard to say that you are a better C or an extension of C or a language that's supposed to work with C and be a C compiler and not provide such basic necessities for working with C at a language level in a way that the user finds intuitive. I want to use C and Laye next to each other. I want to be able to say, here's a C library that I want to use, but I want to be writing code in Laye. I don't want to go write bindings to that library in Laye, which I can do, I've showed you. I've got bindings in one of my other compilers for all of these main functions from the core library, our core and raylib, right? Very easy to do. I literally copied the C functions and did a couple macros to it in the text editor. Easy as hell. But I shouldn't have to do this. I should, if I have a language that claims to be compatible with C, just be able to read C files in line and have the compiler do all that for me. This was trivial. The compiler can do this. So long as I don't go too terribly far on deviating from the type system, which I will be doing, right? We're extending C. You're not going to be able to use Laye code from C by default. You will have to do a little bit of work to go both ways. But it shouldn't be that much work. If I wanted to, instead of, if I wanted to write something that is callable from C, I should still be able to just tack the foreign keyword on it, and now it's C compatible. That should be all I have to do. So if I said foreign I32 get foo, this is a C function. It's just written in Laie. I can return 10. I'd still have to have some way for C to call it, so C is going to have to write Laie bindings. It's going to have to say int get foo in order to call get foo for now. I don't have any way of saying C can do the same thing that Laie can, right? I guess the main problem will be things like error handling and preprocessor macros. Yes, I had a few ideas for preprocessor macros that I'm still toying around with. Not to mention some linking headaches like error no can magically break sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have the same problems as C, and I'm going to have more of those problems for sure. It's not going to be perfect. But if I can at least make it easier, that's my goal. One of the things that I was planning to do is also try trivial translation of C tokens in the preprocessor to Laie tokens to allow you to use the public API of C headers that do that, right? So some headers are going to say int foo, like the internal implementation of foo, and then define foo to foo so that they can change the internal implementation to their will, but you're always calling foo, right? Or you do this to make sure that it has to be a function. In most cases, the cases that I think people are going to care about, translating these tokens to Laie tokens is trivial. And in most cases, I think I can allow that. The problem will be depending on how I namespace things here, right? If everything goes into the global scope by default, and I force this to be the way you do it, then I can do a one-to-one translation of tokens. If I don't, then I have to flag this token as having come from C when I read it in Laie's parser, and syntactically or semantically change it to start looking up from C import libraries. So maybe I say, hey, this came from a file included by one of these files. I'm going to search it for the symbol and prepend the appropriate thing to it, right? Like, it's not going to be trivial, but especially if I'm using Clang, or especially when I write my own preprocessor in the future, I just grab those tokens. I should be able to come over here and say, I think it's in the translation unit. I have this if falsed out, so hold on. Let me grab this, all of this here. Let me just let's fucking put it in a new file. How about that? Grab all of this. We're gonna say, since when are you like a god? We've been over this. I'm stupid as fuck. Tests, yes. So if I put all this back in here, and I just class test in the global thing, and then public static void test, to try to put all this back in here so I get IntelliSense back. So in the translation unit, I don't have the preprocessor. In the Clang file, I don't have the preprocessor. In TU preprocessor. In one of these, I know I have access to the preprocessor. I just forget which one it is. I can get everything that it included. I can get the cursor, I can get diagnostics, I can get files, get locations, modules. I know the preprocessor is somewhere in here. Clang, get file. Then if I have this TU, that's for accessing other things I give a shit about, like translation unit declaration. Name time, try get path, try get unique ID. It's not in the file. I'm pretty sure it's not in the index. I swear it's in the translation unit here. I just need to find it. Default, dispose, find, get cursor, get diagnostic file, get file, preprocessor, get hash code, get file context, location, module. It might be in the module. It might just be on the handle. No, the handle's an actual thing. But I've tested looking up macro defines in the I've tested this before, I just don't have it saved off somewhere. I can definitely get the list of tokens if I get the preprocessor. And then I can do what I was just talking about over here and start doing some semantically aware transformations to those tokens to give you some level of define handling. Now, problem, how do I invoke the preprocessor? That's the next question. I don't know. I might do something like, if you said $foo, that says, check the C preprocessor, and it will be a semantic error if either it doesn't exist or you didn't import any C files, so therefore it doesn't exist. I'm still working through some of those question marks, right? But like I'm seriously tackling the issues. I'm not just kind of like naively thinking I can solve all the world's problems. I know there's lots of problems here. Index. So if I say index, what is this from? This is Clang Sharp index. Now, create, handle. I don't remember where we get this stuff. Does anybody remember me talking about this in the fucking Discord? By the way, we talk about all this shit all the time in the Discord over here. There's me getting more lecture stuff done yesterday. Great stuff. Or memes, or Saray doing stuff, or somebody playing guitar. I don't know. Anyway, it's in the description. I am now like irrationally focused on where the hell the preprocessor is in here, because I know I saw it, and I feel like it has to be on the translation unit. Cursor? No. Diagnostics? No. Get cursor? That would help. Get file, get inclusions, get location, get module for file. Like, I don't know. AST, full name. I swear it's part of the syntax tree, but like I don't know. TU, translation unit decal, CPP, C, access function attributes availability, cursor show on cursor kind, decal context. Context is translation unit, redecal context. It wasn't redeclared. I'll have to go look through the libclang documentation because I'm pretty sure even the C# version has access to the preprocessor. And I just don't remember where. Code completion. It has code completion, so why don't I remember? It's not resource usage, it's not handle, it's not get token or type. Yeah, I'm at a loss, but I totally had it. You can get the C preprocessor, and you can do what I was just talking about. So I'll figure that out again later. Maybe I still have it actually in my experiments. Hold on, let me go pull it up again. Did I have it in any of these here? Because I had other C++ experiments going. Maybe I can find it in here. Inquire, experiment, example. That's one of them. So it might have been that one. That's just for LLVM. This was copying the driver. So I need to get the AST unit. And then it has a preprocessor. But and it has a context and it has the trans unit. Okay, so maybe I'm just using, hold on. Now I'm curious. What is this? That doesn't exist. Context. So if I say Clang Sharp interop context, completion context, maybe Clang Sharp doesn't have what I'm looking for. It has a pre-processing directive. So like, it's at the cursor. Maybe I have to do some extra work to make this work. I could have sworn I could do it from C# already. God damn it. God damn it, god damn it. Well, worst case, I can re-implement basically the core of Clang Sharp because I do have LLVM built on my machine. I can I don't even have to actually have LLVM built on my machine, do I? I can have, well, it would help. For development, it would help. But I can just build a quick C++ application that exposes a C API for the relevant things I need here, like this is doing. I don't have to have the entire thing auto-generated. I can just do the features that I need as a thin wrapper around libclang. And then to build it yourself, you would just need my library and my thin wrapper around Clang Sharp. You go to LLVM, download the LLVM development binaries. My thin wrapper could either be built from source or I can distribute it, but that would work. And then I can create the C# binary. We'll get there when we get there. I can do 99% of what I want with the current libclang implementation. And maybe I contribute back API access to get the preprocessor to Clang Sharp, because apparently it doesn't have it. Actually, I know we're like way off topic here, but that's like all development ever is being off topic. If I go and find something like this, used by, I'm in the list of used by. What the hell? Interesting that it picked it up here. I wonder if I move this to my main branch, if it'll pick me up elsewhere as well. Anyway, Clang Sharp. I'm curious. Fix this. Okay. Issues. Preprocessor. There are no open issues for the preprocessor. So I might go try to contribute back preprocessor stuff. That might be a to-do. Maybe we even look at that on stream one day. Maybe I even do it tonight. If we look at it, then we take a break, I can look into it. Anyway, that long tangent aside, those are all my plans. Those are my potential hangups. This should Lex. We can just let's see what tokens we get out of this. I think we'll have the one invalid for here, but everything else should be a bunch of valid tokens. We should be good. Oh, right. I intended for hash to also be a comment. So let me go to trivia. I'm in program. I need to be in Lexer, trivia, anywhere that I see a hash. We want to just skip the whole thing to the end of line. Hash and actually, no, this is the better way to do it. Oh, these got formatted all ugly, like ugh. I ran formatting on the entire project, on the entire file at one point, and I don't have formatting rules defined, so these look like shit. Okay, so now, again, except for the invalid foo, we should get a list of valid tokens. Beautiful. Cool. I've got something wrong with my hand and I hate it. Hold on. I'm trying not to like compulsively dig a hole in my hand. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this on stream, but I swear I've got like a little sliver or something stuck in my palm and I keep brushing up against it. And I don't want to have an infection, but I want to pull it out. I should probably turn the light on in my room. The sun is setting. It is not bright in here anymore. Where did it go? Yeah, I just can't see it. Okay, so we... we'll do that. We can work on the parser now. We have everything we need from the Lexer. We can do that. So, I wanted to, very early, try to get these C imports working as close to expected as possible for testing purposes. Which means parsing, at the very least, rather, it means parsing the import declaration. I need to construct syntax nodes for all of the valid declarations that I want to translate. But I don't have to actually parse them yet. So if I just said import stdio.h, then we need to do some looking up for where the hell stdio.h is. And we need to parse it with libclang. So I need some thin wrapper around libclang as a public API to my parser, which can translate this into something. I don't know exactly how I want to structure this, because what I might do is construct for all C imports, create one big buffer of all the declarations, like I said. And we might want to construct that into its own module and generate a single import star dot whatever. So let's just start with import star from. Import star from std.io. Let's make that our first goal for parsing. Way the hell somewhere. We've got tokens, we've got not tokens. We've only done tokens. So now that we're done with tokens, let's do import. With that, that's not a place I care about a breakpoint. Let's do this. I then want syntax node. We've started defining what an import might have. It'll have the kind of import, which is a file path or a library. We care about file path, and that's going to turn into a C header. And I think here's a potential problem. What if they want to import a header that doesn't have the .h file extension on it? For now, I can just say, fuck it. We require .h to know that it's a header file. But that's not technically a requirement, right? For now we're going to do that. We'll figure it out later. We have an import here. We have an import here. It's going to have the import kind, the text of the thing we're importing, which in this case is stdio dot stdio.h. So then we want public bool like is wildcard. And I want to change the way this works here in a second, but I need to get my brain around what needs to go in here. import C header, the header. I could do that. I'm trying to reduce extraneous syntax because again, I want it to just feel natural. But I could introduce a contextual keyword. If you say import star from whatever and just say C header or header, this could be a contextual keyword that says it's a C header file if it needs to happen. So boom. That would be like, I have a couple of ideas for solutions, and I can always change the import syntax as needed. Like I said, worst case scenario, I just have like a C import keyword, and I handle all the shenanigans in here. So I have backup plans. I'm going for my preferred solution first, and we'll fall back if necessary. Is wildcard, I can then just be like, look, to do import name plus alias specifier. I'm not going to do absolutely everything that an import's going to need right now, because we're not parsing absolutely everything. So I don't have a parser yet, so I just parser CS. We're going to write a whole ass new parser. Require front live syntax parser, public class parser. And I'm going to make it partial, because we are probably going to want to implement some of these subroutines, or like sections, not subroutines, but like, I think of it conceptually as a bunch of subroutines, but sections of the parser will probably be best in separate files for readability. Like an entire section dedicated to scanning types before parsing types will probably need to be its own thing. Potentially the same thing for types and expressions, we might do that. But for now, this is fine. What API did I give Alexer? I have fucking read tokens into module, which then takes the Lexer, which has a public constructor. So I can give the parser a public constructor as well. The parser is also going to take a source file. It's going to do the exact same thing that the Lexer does, so that we have all the information about the source file that we want right here, right now. I'm then also going to provide a static convenience function which will consume parser. Cannot repeatedly read parse syntax into a module which has already had syntax ready to it. So if module dot tokens, we want instead top level nodes. That's our best check right now. So then we have the parser, and we're going to then do while parser read top level, not read, parse top level syntax, we can say module add top level node, and then we can say is top level node or something. Boom, 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 boom. That can be the API we're going for here. So let's do public syntax node question mark parse top level syntax. Easiest thing I can do here then is say if is at end, which we'll have to define here in a second, return null. There's nothing to return, we're at the end of the file. We're going to need to get some tokens, so that needs to be added to our parser to determine if we're at the end, and to actually have tokens to work with. So private read-only syntax token array tokens is going to equal something. We probably need to take the tokens from the module. So the Lexer doesn't give a shit about module. Maybe it should. The parser, I don't want to give a shit about module if the Lexer doesn't. Ideally, you don't have to do anything in the parser that cares about a module, but that might be an assumption we don't like. Oh, this also needs to be parse. Parser, parse syntax from a module. I might just say this is stupid and this needs to be a syntax module. We're going to parse into a module. If I do that, then this might mean a slight refactor on the Lexer soon. This will be module. Source file is then module source file. Context is module source file context. I might have a context here. I do. So then this just goes yoink. Right. This is fine, I think. But now we can do things like module tokens to array. Alternatively, we just make it, so this is an IEnumerable when we grab it. That's all our tokens. I don't like that. We are going to turn it into an array. Module source file ID, just in case I need it for location purposes, but I shouldn't actually, so let's just not worry about it. What we want here is a private int token index starts at 0. Public bool is at end, can be a private for now because we don't actually want people using this directly. Is at end becomes token index greater equal tokens length. If that's the case, then we're at the end. So then, next thing, we want to make sure there are tokens. We want to say if module tokens, I think at this point, if we have a module, we should assume it has tokens. Let me go back to my driver. I'm just, not this. Acquire drivers, yes. So here I've done this. Lexer read tokens. I think we just always read tokens into the module. Then, if it's not Lex, then we parser our syntax in the module, which should have tokens now. So boom, now we have that. If, now I want to, let's bring the Lexer over to the side so I can make sure I'm mirroring the private interface to it the same way. We want current token. Actually, all of this is properties at end. We want current token, which is going to be peak 0. We want a current location, which is then going to be current token location. Current token is syntax token, current token. Now, notably, what I'm actually going to do is the list of tokens should contain end of file. What I actually want to do then is say it's equal to tokens length. We're at the end if we're equal to tokens length. So then we can always return, for my own sake, I'll probably say end of file token is going to be tokens sub tokens length minus 1. Which I can simplify. I know there's ranges. I don't like that. Then I need private syntax token peak in ahead. Let me just assert that ahead is positive. That's easy enough. We then want to grab the peak position, and instead of returning 0, we return the end of file token that we have. And then otherwise, and this is not position, but it should be, because we want to be consistent. Paste. And then text length is instead token count, which I could do. Private read-only int tokens length. Can't refer to this here though. Okay. Then we won't do that. So we'll just say token tokens length. Otherwise, return tokens sub peak position. And then this has to be -1. We do that. Then we peak 0. Current location is current token location. Okay, so that's our parser's primary internal API. We then want advance. Advance is position ++. Trivial as fuck. So just to be safe, this should be this again. Hi A200, how you doing? That's the safer way to do that. That's the safer way to do it. So this is just shorthand for is at end, but with peak position. So that's fine. Advancing here is this. The next thing we can do is try advance. If this would take a syntax kind. If I just click the stream. Nice. Where'd you, like on the homepage where you recommended it? I'm always curious where people come from. I don't ask that often, but I am curious. Current token kind is not equal to kind, then we don't advance. Otherwise, we do advance and we return true. Now, maybe, just maybe, I want a variant out syntax token. Just recommended. Nice. We're building a compiler right now. It's like the 500th time I've tried to do it because compilers are hard to write and you always learn. Maybe null when false. And then here I can just say try advance kind out var empty. Can I do out empty without var? I can. We can just discard it. So then token is current token. No matter what we do, current is current. Token current. We're building a compiler for my programming language that looks like this. I've got bunches of tests here. Actually, I have an example that uses raylib. It's a bit ugly because not all the features are implemented, but we're a C-like language. Finally, a YouTuber saw my comments on Stream Chat. Yeah, you're one of how many people? One of 7. So plenty easy to see your chat, don't worry. I like chatting. We get distracted here. I should have been parsing a whole lot of things about an hour and a half ago. Yeah, I've been live for an hour and 40 minutes, and we've barely gotten past setting up the parser. Is Laya's grammar context sensitive? It is technically, yes. I don't really do programming. I can't read today. I don't really do programming. I just make Roblox games. I started programming on Roblox in like 2006. Right after it came out. The only reason I'm doing what I am today is because of Roblox. I'm not judging. In fact, Roblox.com, am I still logged in? Because I'm not like popular anymore, but I had like 15 minutes of fame there. Do I? This is sign up. I want sign in. Log in. There it is. I'm a boomer. I can't read. Log in. An unknown error occurred. Email me a one-time code. I don't know what email it's associated with, but I could show you some of the things I did on Roblox. Not really, I don't have Studio installed, but I could try. That's not it. That's not it. I have no idea if I'm going to get a one-time code from Roblox. I don't think I can browse for people by name. Maybe I can. There I am. I haven't touched this in so long. I've logged in periodically. I basically wiped my friends list back in 2014, 2015 or something. But yeah, I did a lot of stuff on Roblox way back in the day. Nice. Studio Open's fun. Modern Roblox Studio is really cool. I joined in 2009 on this account, but I had an account for a couple of years prior, I think. when I was figuring out what it was. Before it became popular and I knew what you could actually do with it, I had a throwaway account, and then I made a new one for some reason back in 2009. I have like 10 Roblox accounts. I don't remember most of them. And I don't think any of my places are still around. I started building some Call of Duty Zombie stuff. I started building Keynote or Totem. I built my own tool for designing these complicated structures. They're not complicated anymore because you can import actual meshes into Roblox. You probably don't know about the time you couldn't do that. You had to use bricks and brick-like shapes. So all of this is using the basic shapes that were given to you in Studio. I created this in 2010. Holy shit. This one has, how many visits? This one, 2,000. People really wanted me to finish this. Oh my god. 52,000 visits. I don't think I have any other things still open. I used to have a bunch of places for people to see. I guess I do. I had a different Kino open here as well. It doesn't have a preview images, but I started remaking Kino. Something special. Something. We're back there. Classic hobby template, so I don't have any scripting checkpoints. I'm surprised obbies are still around. I don't know how to use the new interface, but I wanted to show off some of the scripts that I was doing. Like if I search for Funbox, I was the creator of Funbox. I want it in Marketplace, I guess. Maybe Creator Marketplace? I don't know what anything's called anymore. Like models and packages. I made models and packages. We'll just go here. My inventory. I did a bunch of programming on Roblox, and a handful of people used my stuff, and it was great. I made a bunch of Lua shenanigans. Lua's fun. I can't show you any of the scripts without having Studio installed, and we're not doing that. I tried to do portals. Portals were very difficult. You can't really do that. Oisey was a cool dude. I think he got banned. We'll get back to the compiler in just a second. I'm going down memory lane. I made the Skrillex logo for shits and giggles. There's the Keynote or Totem mystery box. It's basically the same mystery box as everything else, but again, you couldn't do fancy stuff. I made all the perk machines with my build tools. I scripted these build tools. I have a window model that I was programming with some zombies. I have somewhere on YouTube even, one of my videos was a really simple thing. Again, before you had the fancy character models even, god damn, of me adding fancy animations to, there's my portal test, but it wasn't really portals. This one, 13 years ago, 2011, I was working on breakable windows. So I used somebody else's tooling, extended it for all of my own needs. We did keyframed animation, and I had the animation crawling through a window. I was planning to build a whole animation library here to put into Call of Duty Zombies maps. So I wanted animations for tearing the boards off the windows. So I extended this animation system to fit my needs. I basically built this model. It was based on somebody else's model, but it was a completely custom character model. When you spawned in, we deleted all of your stuff and gave you this body here with all the multiple joints for the new animation system. Eventually, Roblox adopted some better animations and stuff, but it's still not perfect. I really liked this old model that people started liking. Anyway, I'm going to stop there before I go too off memory lane. You can look up Ember1465 if you want to see stuff I did in my market or in my inventory. Anyway, this is the language we're working on. It's a C-like language, but with other fancy things. I'm not going to explain it right now. We need to parse. So we have a try advance. If we want a token, we can get the token we advance past. Try advance is actually, it should return the token. No, yeah, it should do this. Exactly what I have it doing, it should do. Okay. So then Yeah, you go have fun. I'm going to work more on my compiler. Thanks for stopping by. If you want, by the way, you can check the description for my Discord and or any of my other links so you can keep up. You have Snapchat? You heard my Snapchat go off? Yes. I'm old, I have Snapchat. Speaking of, I should probably check my Snapchat. Somebody deleted a chat. Ooh. Yeah, please do. A lot of other devs or aspiring developers of other things like games. A lot of people. I talk a lot in development here. I want to write a book on compilers. I haven't updated this in a couple of months, but trying to write a book on compilers. If you want to learn about them ever, if I ever finish the book. I talk a lot about stuff in here, so do people like Serraid Eternal here. Some of the other viewers are going to be in here. Post whatever you want to show off. Talk about random shit. It's fun. Not high stakes. You can leave whenever you want. I post whenever I go live, or if I'm doing anything big. Feel free to share whatever you're working on. If you want to talk about your Roblox game, I'm down to talk about it, and I'm sure a few other people would be as well. We want to parse top-level syntax. Let's say switch current token kind. By default, we're just going to completely break the parser for now and just diag context, diag, I'm just going to say ice. Parser is not finished. Please don't use that. At current location, and we'll figure that out later. That will just crash the program with that silly message. Otherwise, this should throw new unreachable so that the compiler is not mad at us. That will crash the program. If we hit token import, though, we then want to return parse import declaration. And then we can implement parse import declaration as public syntax node, straight up, no question mark, parse import declaration. Bug assert current token kind is equal to token import. And now we got to implement some parsing routines. So rather than try advance here, I can do a separate advance implementation as well that has out syntax token or advancing past, and then advance becomes advance out that, and then token. God, fat fingers. Current token, simple stuff. Just so I can then say advance out var token import, just in case I want it lying around. There we go. Now have our import token. We then want to, since we're only trying to parse this form for now, we're going to say if try advance token kind, not token kind, syntax kind, star, and then else. This will be a thing we implement eventually, but for right now it's going to be currently only import star is supported. And then we'll come in here and we'll implement the other forms of import later. And this doesn't have to be else, because we can just, if we hit star, we can eventually return something. So we'll if try advance token star, out var token star, just so we have it. If we want it, we continue. Then, when we hit token star, the only other thing we can have is from. So then, if not try advance syntax kind token from. Actually, so try advance here is doing something that I don't actually think I want. What we're going to do here is if it's wrong, we're going to construct a missing token, and if it's right, then token is current token, then advanced return. Otherwise, token is going to be new syntax token of kind, we're going to say missing, token missing. Its location is going to be new location at the current token's location dot offset current, this will just be 1, and then file ID, which is just going to then be source file ID. Hey, hi, hello. Hi, hello. Feel free to move over to general. Most people don't talk in welcome, it's just for spamming goddamn pictures and stuff. Or anywhere, go anywhere. But hi, hello, welcome. Yes, that's me, I'm the pink one. I like pink. It's me, live on YouTube. Local is pink, by the way. Okay, so we need a token for missing. We're just going to put that right after invalid. Missing. Where did I put end of file? There. Token end of file. Token unknown. Interesting. I'm not using unknown, so I'm going to say that. I'm going to take token end of file. Oh, that makes sense why I did that then. Never mind, they're going to come back where they were. Right here. Token missing and token into file. Put into file first. Token missing. And we'll give it just this location here. And actually, don't I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 current location? There we go. Offset 1. There's our new missing token. That's the way we're going to handle this for now. So if not, try advanced. Syntax kind from. Token from. Ooh. Let's say try advanced contextual keyword. So then I want to say from, out the bar, token from. Then we're going to report an error. And I have some ideas for how to refactor this in the future for composable parser pieces, but for right now, we don't have anything to compose. We're parsing exactly one thing, so I can try doing exactly one thing. So let's build try advanced contextual keyword. Private bool, try advanced contextual keyword. That'll be string keyword text, and then this is no longer maybe null when, it is no longer null. It is just out syntax token. So then, if current token kind is equal to identifier and current token text is equal to keyword text. Okay, not only should the text be keyword text, but really the location span should be equal to the keyword text because it needs to be not at from, right? That shouldn't be transformed. So I'm going to instead say memory extensions equals the span in context this. Memory extensions is equal, and that'll take read-only span, other. Cool. So if it's an identifier and it's actual physical source text, this is probably not the greatest way to do it, but for right now, if it's physical source text matches the keyword text, then we can return true, and we can say token kind is going to become its new kind, which should have a new contextual kind, not syntax token, syntax kind. Will become the contextual kind. This will be token is current token. We change its kind, which I can't do. It is read only. we're going to let it be settable. I think before I make it settable, my syntax token doesn't have an overload for that. Okay, so if I say protected set, and then introduce public void set contextual kind, syntax kind. This is a slightly less intrusive way to fix that. So kind is kind. So then I can say token set contextual kind. Like that. Return true. Advance. Return true. Otherwise, I'll return false. And here's a problem. I don't want to always create a missing token. I, in these cases, do actually want the thing to be null. We're going to say try advance this will be maybe null when false. That's correct. Then this, instead of try advance, we're going to call try consume. We're going to call this consume. Not try, just straight up consume. This one cannot be null. It will make a thing. This one can be null because we're returning false. So then consume is going to be different. If I say try advance contextual keyword, we are going to not do the thing. This will be syntax maybe null when false, because token is null false. Cool. But then, for some reason, I always get rn mixed with m. Yeah, fonts make it weird. Consume will bother giving us a missing token. And this will then have a variant called try, well, not try advance, consume contextual keyword, which now needs these two things instead of this. And then it needs if this instead. We're going to then do all the same stuff. And then here, we just create the missing token. So this is missing now instead. But its kind is going to have, and this is return false. Consume, return false. Now, I still don't think I want to. I'm all over the place. This, if we're consuming, needs to be this. Then I'm not going to advance. We're calling it missing. Oh no, this is return true. God, I might need to take a break. I don't know what's going on. If we consume, either a missing token if it's wrong, or actually consume it if it's correct. That's good. This is done. Consume contextual keyword is the new one. So try advance contextual keyword. If it matches, set it as a contextual keyword. Skip it, return true. Otherwise, it's null, return false. That's the same for try advance. Null, return false. Consume contextual keyword has the same good case, but it now returns a missing token and does not advance, it returns false. I think we're good. I think that's exactly what I want. So then here, if not try consume or not, if not consume, contextual keyword. So now I can come into syntax kind, and somewhere in here we have from and as, which I want back. So then I can actually just consume. And then this can also just be called try advance, because it takes in some other stuff. That's good. So if not consume, the keyword from transform to the keyword token from if we're correct, token from. Then we're going to list an error. So context diag error, we want at token from location, because it's still going to exist? No. Oh, no, this is fine though. We want this. Because when we consume, it's going to always be a valid token. It just might be missing. Expected from, which is easy enough, right? So that's easy. We consume from expected from. Then, if it's not there, we can do a couple of other checks, such as if we see a comma, we can be like, ayo, that's illegal. If we see the string, well then we're good to go. If we see another word like for or fro or some other identifier followed by a string, then we can also be like, I think you're okay. We understand. I'm going to do some pattern matching stuff like that eventually. But for right now, I'm just going to assume it's well-formed, do the trivial error case, and call it a day, because I need to just get something working to test with. So then, if not consume token path, which would be a syntax token literal string, then expected import path name, and then we can do one more nice private void expect semicolon, which we can do twice, out syntax token, like this, and then expect semicolon out this, and then we can just, if not consume the thing. Now, something I can probably do here is just, instead of discarding, because consume is going to construct a missing token. If I instead just say we consume, but we don't care, that's going to be more memory efficient. So if we don't consume syntax token dot semicolon, that's syntax kind semicolon. So we're going to implement the semicolon check twice, actually. If not consume out token. Return false. Now this is going to look stupid. Return true. So let's actually say if consume return true. That's fine. We don't even need to Okay, I take it back. If not consume, then we just report the error. So we can just say expected semicolon. Right. Now consume is going to advance if it's correct. It's not going to advance no, thank you. Not right now, no. I've got way too many Discord servers. Okie dokie. I've got way too many other things to focus on. So consume. Thanks for the invite, though. Current location should be fine. And then I want to actually just copy this for not using out token. Okay. So then down here we can say expect semicolon out var token semicolon, again just in case I want it. Though I guess the just in case I want it part is not that useful to me right now. Like star. I will just skip them for now, and we'll re-add them as necessary. I'm using them here for this one doesn't need it. This can say current token. This then needs a variant that doesn't take the out token. I am just going to set its contextual kind, but not construct the missing token. So we can do that. Okay. We want token path for reasons. So let's say string path name is this. Well, actually, we'll need to know whether or not we can look up the path name, or whether or not we should, right? If I just report the error and continue on, then the empty text of this is going to lead to more errors. So I need to also flag whether or not we had an error, like we should resolve it. And I don't have a way to flag specifically a syntax node right now, because we're just shooting diagnostics into the void. Yeah, I'll look at the game if you share it in one of the text channels. Right, like you either put it in development or show off, or maybe gaming, depending on what you're sharing. Just like pick a channel and share some screenshots or videos of it. I'm not like gonna hop in a call with you and watch a screen share right now. I'm busy doing lots of other things, but you are free to share it asynchronously, and I'll look at it when I can. Okay, so we want to be able to, let's say bool has path, and I can say if not has path, do the error. Then I can use that to determine if I want to, like I just, if it's an import syntax, we can, let's just, for the sake of, maybe even say invalid as our default import kind. Expect the semicolon, then I can return new syntax node import. It's going to take, import doesn't need to take the syntax kind. It's going to pass syntax kind import like that, but it does need a location. The location is going to be the import tokens location, and I might start taking in all of these as terminals. So we'll change the structure here in just a second, but I want to see if we can parse. I want to see if we can parse, and then now that I've done some of this, we'll do a quick refactor. Unless I leave, because I'm starting to be unable to talk. So it's entirely possible that we work on the C import feature later, or tomorrow, or later this week. Depending on what I do, make sure you fucking subscribe or join the Discord or something, I don't know, be a YouTube shill so I can get people to come back. Location, then that's all I need there. Now we're doing fly. Okay, that's just saying I need to do import kind is going to equal has path and file path or invalid, and we just won't resolve invalid imports. Is wildcard is true at this point because we have the star. Thank you, I appreciate it. Import text is going to equal to has path and token path text or just empty, which it should be because it'll be a missing token, but just to be explicit, just in case, then it has no alias. So from everything we've got here, this is the simplest import parse for what we want to do for C files here. We're going to have much more cases. Thank you. This is awesome. That's always fun. I like when people enjoy. We've got a lot of different cases for imports we're going to have to parse in the future, and I know we're going to have to change the way I'm doing this syntax tree here soon. I have some examples in my old repository here. If I go to like import Laya or something, here's a lot of the ones I was testing, and some of these I think are wrong. Yeah, these both need to have the word from before them. So I think they're parsing correctly or parsing incorrectly as correctly. These are the kinds of cases I need to handle bare minimum. So we're going to be parsing all of the above. And I think this is even missing some cases, and we'll want to support, this isn't even checking for commas, right? So we'll have printf and fprintf, right, as, fprintf rather, as like these cases here from this. And I don't think I'm even checking for this as this from this as stdio like 6 or something, right? Like I have all these additional cases that are still technically missing from here. But, and like here's all the different ways that you can use them. First, second, third, fourth, all the way up to the 8th import. Each of these I've tested the exact one that I'm importing. We have lots of other cases to handle. This does not cover any of them. I'm probably going to have like 3 or 4 different import cases and one that just says, this is fucking malformed, don't listen to it, kind of import. Why not do the C-style import system? Would that make it easier? I don't want to. If you mean include files, no. I don't think that's a good idea at all, honestly. Otherwise, I don't know what you mean. I'm assuming you're talking about the preprocessor and the include files, and I'm not doing a preprocessor, and I don't want textual includes, nor do I want to just copy paste tokens, right? These are semantic imports for a reason. We want namespace things. We want to have semantic information about things. We don't want to re-include files multiple times, which I guess we can still handle with implicit include guards. It's just like, it wouldn't make anything significantly easier. The only hard part about this is building up the correct import and export tables for each file, which I haven't done completely correctly ever before, but I'm planning to, spend some time figuring out. The only difficulty is building those import and export tables properly in a way you can use them. And beyond that, it's fine, it's easy. You really shouldn't aspire to have C's include system. It's not good. For as much as I love C, 50% of the language is garbage. And the other 50% is questionable, let's be honest. It may be one of my favorite languages. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean I need to copy it. I am copying as much of it as I need to interop with it comfortably. And I'm copying the things that I am fond of, even if I have a bad reason for being fond of them. I mean, you can do you. It doesn't make sense for my language. Every language is going to be different. If it's better for you, it's better for you. But the way that I'm treating things in this language, I need this kind of import system. Don't do what I'm doing just because I'm doing it. Do what you need to do. Understand your problem. Try a few different solutions. Do what works for you. I am not your god. Okay, so if I did everything right, this should not do a good job, but it should parse this. And I just want to see what's going to happen if I change this from parse, or from lex to parse. Where is it going to blow up in my face? What do we have left to do? Acquire error, no such file or directory parse. I did not parse the parse directive. So we have lex, parse, and sema. Cool. So it did get the import. We did not get any errors. It's not printing anything because I really don't have anything to print. But that's good. We've started the parser. I'm going to now do some stupid. We've got import. I'm going to change this from any of this shit. We're going to get rid of that. I want to say import path, and I'm going to call it wildcard. Import path wildcard. Even better, maybe I just say, I'm not going to say even better. It takes a location. I want to override children. And whatever I decide to do in here will start to determine what I actually do with all of my nodes. Because, let's say, instead of every import needs a syntax token import, right? So then this will be token import dot location. Boom. So then I can say public syntax token import dot. That's that. If I can type correctly. So yield return token import. That's solid. I can do that. If I then come back over to the parser here, and I just don't bother constructing anything, and I just pass it token import, like we're parsing it, I'm changing the data structure now. This, if I did everything right, doesn't break, but it doesn't do what I want it to do. Let me go look at the printer. When we print a print, we're only printing a token right now. We've right line. Then I think what I want to do. No, this should handle it for me. I need to be in base tree printer here. Because when I say print children, no, I do have to call print children. It's going to track it for me. That's right. So then, print children of node children. There it is. So there's our token. That's what's important. So we need to have enough syntactically valid information here to know what kind of import this is going to really be, so I don't have to think too hard about it. I don't want to have every possible case in here. So I think one thing I'm going to do in here is have a public sealed class. No, it'll be abstract. We're gonna have a kind of ugly mess of classes here for the time being that I might change later. Again, everything is subject to change. We're going wherever my brain wants to go. We are going to say import specifier. I don't actually know what. Anybody watching, what would you call this wildcard? If I said import foo from bar, what's the term for foo? Or if I have foo bar baz, what is the term for this list? I just called it a specifier because I don't know what the fuck to call it. Qualifier, import, name, import. Let's say Python import syntax and see if the import system documentation tells me what this is called in Python, and maybe that's a module. Caps lock was on, sure. Set list. It would be a list. I don't know about a set. Import, like it's a set of things, but it would be a set or a list, not both. Package namespace. So I mean, we are in a module. This lie file is a module. We're importing from module clux or module stdio.h. But what are the individual entity names that we're importing called? The import list, yeah, I feel like there's got to be a name for this. And I don't know why I feel like there's got to be a name for this. The import system, Python code in one module, importing it. The import statement is the most common way of invoking this. The import statement has import statement module, relative module. I have no clue. Yeah, neither do I. I guess they are module. They're importing module. I want the from. Relative module, import identifier as identifier. But they don't have a name for this. Don't have a name for this. Find a module. Find a name or names in the local namespace where the scope for the import occurs. Import system, the module with the northern specified module. There's the from. Find the module specified in from. Check if the imported module has an attribute by that name. Yeah, they don't have a name for it here either that I can see. ChatGPT might know. A submodule, yeah, but they're not other modules. They're exported. I mean, they might be. It might be exported modules. If I said export import foo, then this module exports the module foo, but also imports it. So then if I import foo from, test.ya here where we are, then I'm importing a module. But what's the name called? Especially if I can say as bar, then it's an alias for the thing as well. So I want a name for this entire construct that could also be the wildcard specifier, which is why I like the term specifier. Environment, that's not bad. Import environment, I wouldn't call it a list at that point because it's kind of implied that it's some structure there. Also, hi Aaron, thank you for chiming in. The wildcard form of import. Library, maybe. Again, that's like similar to the word module. And I'm trying to use the word library in LaYe so far to refer to pre-built code. So if you're importing from a DLL or a .o or a .a or SO or something. Too vague though, right? Yeah, naming things is hard. I mean, if everybody agrees it's a module, but it's not, is the name module also correct? Even though it's incorrect? Import binding. Import query. I could call them queries. You're querying for if foo has attr, if foo has baz. I'm going to call it a query. I think I've stumbled upon import query. So the environment query, that's not bad either. I don't know if I need to go as far as calling it an environment everywhere. We can refer to it as an environment where we need to, but I don't think the syntax node needs to say environment everywhere. We are querying that import environment, but I'm usually going to call it a scope or a namespace instead of an environment internal to the compiler as well. So we're going to call it an import query because if we go back to my example here, I could also say stdio printf. So we're querying multiple things deep here. If I go to deps.libc, for example, we can see what it's doing. libc is export import stdio, and it's getting the implicit name as stdio because of its file name here. So we have access to stdio and everything within it. So we're querying it's like a subquery on the query here, and then we're aliasing it. It's not really a query, but it's kind of a query, right? And stdio just exports two functions. That's where we're getting these from. I'm going to call it a query. We're gonna settle on query. The query needs, at the very least, a single name. I'm going to prepare in advance something a little bit more complicated, but we're not going to fill it out yet. I want a public abstract maybe class. Maybe I make it abstract, maybe I don't. Maybe we just make it sealed class name ref. We're going to call it a name ref. And no, maybe I do. I think I'm going to make it abstract. Abstract, lowercase, name ref, because I'm gonna do some more silly type shenanigans that I probably shouldn't do, and I'm going to say a sealed name ref simple, and that's just going to take a syntax token See, here's the problem, though. I hate naming things. Okay, I don't know C#. Sealed means you can't extend it. You can't inherit from it. So up here, import is a syntax node. But if it's sealed, you can't do that. Sealed just means I have no intent of you doing anything with this. So instead of having this name ref simple, there's what I'm trying to articulate here is I can say foo or foo bar or foo, or even a global foo. What I usually do is public enum name ref kind, and I can say standard or default, and then global or implicit, or like, I'll rename them in a second, right? So it's closed off. It's similar to final in Java. Yeah, you can have a final class in Java. CPP, I don't know if you can C++ seal a class. I mean, maybe, by like fucking with its constructors, but no, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know enough C++. So what I would then do is say we want to name ref of name ref kind, and a couple of different kinds of tokens. So what I think I would do here is not use a constructor. At least not a public constructor. I think what I want to do is support multiple constructors. If I do a public constructor, we'll start with a public constructor to keep my life simple. This is going to inherit syntax node. It is a name ref. Syntax node name ref will do a thing. In the trivial case, the one that we're going to set up right now, it takes a single syntax token. We'll just call it name. I'm going to expose, though, a list of names. So because it's going to be a multi-part reference to something. Yeah, multiple inheritance makes it even worse, goddamn. In this case, we have two things we want to do. Base, name location. That's the location of this node. It also needs the kind, syntax kind, name ref. Name ref. So we'll just throw that at the bottom somewhere, name ref. Okay, so then here I'm just going to say names is name. Easy. And instead of this being get, it's just going to be names. So what I could really do is make this get, actually, and then just say that names is an array of things like that, and that's probably better. Then I want my public name ref kind name ref kind, because that's important to differentiate. So then name ref kind equals name ref kind. It's just going to be kind, like that. Hides inherited member name ref kind. Oh, because it's right here. It's an enum. Fuck. So the name ref kind is going to exist outside of syntax node, because that makes more sense anyway. So the name ref could be a primary constructor, except I'm also going to take in a arbitrary enumerable list of names. And then here, I want to be able to construct a location from all of those names here. This one, I might want to change the constructor to be private, so I can do better validation. On it. Because what I want, I'll just worry about it later. What I want to do is also take in these : things. But for right now, this will do precisely fine. And if I'm doing it like this, I actually just need name ref kind default. We're not going to support anything else there. This will be fine. So in our query, we want our query to take in a name ref. I'm going to say this requires a location. The location is going to always be the name ref. Name ref query. So it'll be a syntax node query location, right? It needs a kind. This kind will be syntax kind import query, which now needs to go exist. A lot of bookkeeping, but we're working through. We're figuring some things out. We'll see if this works. And actually, we made this abstract for a reason. We want this to, hold on, let me copy the entire thing here, because this is going to be named. It'll take a name ref query. This will be an import query of query location. And this needs, shit, calling it an import query is kind of disingenuous now. So if I say import query wildcard, we're kind of mirroring the type structure with the enum here because we want easy, trivial checks on things. But now I can say named. So then this will be syntax named, and this will take kind. So then this will be a syntax kind. Which kind are we? Who knows? It'll still need a location. So then that does that. The other one that we care about is the wildcard query, which takes in the syntax token token wildcard. I'll just call it the token because we know what it is. So that's just a public syntax token get equals token. So then in this case, it's the token location is a wildcard. I use this to generate the name and the printout as well, so we want them to be accurate. And then here, name ref query get is query. We'll do an alias separately later, but this can also accept an alias if I wanted to. So then I could say syntax token question mark alias token alias or something, right? Which would be nullable. But this is where I'd want to start making this a two different constructors, because this is not going to do what I want, and you'll see why when we get to it. Anyway, so now I can say I have an import query that's a wildcard or a named query. We're only going to be using wildcard right now. But then I can come into my import. We have the import thing, and I can say public I read only list of import queries. Get. So I want to be able to construct this with a list of queries. I'm going to make this init, so I don't have to put it in the constructor here. Import non-nullable property queries must contain a non-null value. We're going to make it required. We're going to make it required. So I can then say in my parser, queries, it's just going to be new syntax node import query wildcard from token star. So now I need to grab token star, back out. And this cannot create an instance of abstract. These need to be sealed. They're not abstract. And now I have a list of queries. So then I can say for each var query and queries, we will return query. So now if I go to our tools here, we should see the token plus the query itself. Now the query does not return its token like it should. So we can say override children. We want this to get yield return token. This will children yield return query. And this will be a more complicated get For now, it's just going to, for each yield return name. It'll do a little bit more later, but this gives us all of the children I could care about. So we should see a new token, token star, that represents our wildcard query. So now we need some other things. Let me then say, if there are queries, public syntax token question mark token from get init. Then we can say, if token from is not null, yield return token from. Token from is token from. And I'm only doing this to like fully illustrate the extent of what we have parsed, basically. It's not a requirement. I'm going a little bit above and beyond to just see everything in my tree for the sake of it. This is not going to survive long past the primary syntax, I don't think. So there's import star from. So then what we're missing now is the path. So in this case, import, we don't know what kind of import it is, right? We're just doing import. So if I say I want to import from a path versus import from a library, we have no way of knowing what the difference is. So I'm going to trivially just say public enum import kind, which will have, I guess at this point we could also determine whether or not it's a C header, but we probably shouldn't. So we'll say file path library. And this is where we introduced earlier in the stream the invalid thing that we didn't want to worry about, so that it doesn't get processed. So we could just keep that and say invalid. So let's, all the way up here, do public import kind get init, which is required. Then we can say import kind equals has path or invalid, so that we don't process invalid paths. This might get removed again, but it's still the only thing I can think of. We then want the syntax token import module token, we'll call it module name for now, and that'll either be the path or the name of the library, either or. So then token module name, which is also required, is going to equal token path, right? So then we can always yield return token path, token module name. There. So then at this point, we have reconstructed our import totally fine here. And for shits and giggles, it also requires a token semicolon, which we can yield return. Does not contain a definition. I didn't save the file. That's why. Save all of the above. Oh, because I changed some things. See, we added some things. I didn't save the files. There's our import star from. Internal compiler error. Attempt to get span outside the bounds of the file source text. Oh boy. Because there's a no new line here, I guess. That's a bug we get to fix. So location, span. So if I say source file get span, greater than, instead of greater than or equal to, that should still just give it to us. There it is, semicolon. So now, hear me out. If I remove the semicolon, fire internal compiler error. Oops. What the heck? Have we been using an ICE instead? We did an ICE here. Yeah, these are error, not ICE. So then token missing instead of token semicolon. We can see that it found that there was something missing there. We expected a semicolon. We didn't give it a location. What the heck? Because it's the end of file, maybe. It should still have a location at the end of file. What is our lexer returning for the end of file token? Because it should still have this current location. Token info, end of file. What the heck? Hold on. Launch is going to now work on parse. It is now going to... We're going to stop in the parser. When we expect... the current location, no matter what, should always be, at most, the end of file. But I'm gonna set the breakpoint there. We're gonna run this. Why the hell aren't we getting source information? So, if not consume, whatever. Current location is 1, 1, 23. That's here. Because we're adding 1 when we report it. So that's here. When are you going to see my Roblox game? I'm streaming right now. It's going to be after stream, and it might not be right after stream either, because I have other things to do. So the location is correct. Current location currently has file ID 1, which is the first file, which is test.lia. It's not at... Is it because I created a new location that's missing? I do have an end token. We're at it right now. Current token is end of file, and its location is 1123, which is the end of file. So am I constructing a location that's just wrong? Current location offset is 23, 1, file ID. I have an idea. Hold on. Let me rerun this with a breakpoint in location. Because I think, actually, in diagnostics, I only attempt to print diagnostic information here if it's seekable. What I'm thinking is the problem is my definition of seekable is wrong. So we're going to find out. I don't need it here anymore. It looks like I'm constructing a valid location, but if I go into seekable, the file is not null. File exists, its ID is 1. So we want to say offset is greater than 0, it's 23. Length is greater than 0, it's 1. Offset plus length, so 23 plus 1 is 4, 24, should be less than or equal to the length of the file, which is 23. That's true. I should have put in an exception for 1 past the length of the end of the file, though. Problem. It's seekable, but I can't get a span to it if I do this. So let's say yes, it is seekable, including the end of file character, which is implicit. Might not be 0, might not exist there. But if I come get the span from here, does slice start as less than 0 or greater than the span's length? Okay, but it looks like it doesn't care about length. So I should get the span bounds check for free. If I run this again. So now we're getting C users whatever, test 124, error expected whatever. So if I put my cursor at 124, line 1, column 24, we get expected a semicolon. And now token missing has the seekable error location. I think that's all I'm looking for. So we can go back to here. And then if I remove from, for example, import star stdio.star, whatever, should still give me a mostly valid import here. We're missing from, and it's at the wrong location here. It's giving me the wrong character for sure. Add a new line at the end of the test file. I mean, if I do it at the end of the file here, it's gonna work just fine. It's still just going to put it at 2.1 instead because it's the next character. It won't put it here, it'll put it here. So something else I want to do, I guess, something that will solve all of the problems in the world. Let's go back to this case. Let's go back to the location, and let's remove this. We're just going to say length is no longer a requirement for being valid. Length can be 0. So then, in my parser, for every missing, instead of saying the length is 1, the length is going to be 0. For the end of file token in the lexer, the way down here somewhere, I went too far. 0. And see what that does. So that should still do everything correctly. Still at 124. It has no text. If I remove from, then from will be missing instead if it'll run. It's missing instead, and it has no text. So we fixed that problem too. It's still reporting at the correct location, it just has no span associated with it. And then of course, if I add the new line, it will report in a slightly different spot. Instead of 110, it'll report at 2.1, or 119, it'll report at 2.1. Because that's just the next valid character location, I guess. Even though really, technically, that might be wrong. We're gonna find out here. If I go back to location, because what I want to do is not this, I don't think. The character after the new line is, because if we stop at the new line, but I guess that's true. No, that's fine. This will be fine. If I need to tweak it, it's simple to tweak later, but I think it's fine. So anyway, there's our slightly fault-tolerant parser. We're going to make it even more fault-tolerant in the future. Not right now, not right now. So boom, no errors. There's our parse tree. It's doing fancy things. Looking at stdio. I don't know if I can continue right now. I'm running out of steam. I've been running out of steam for about the past hour and some change. But I pushed through to get this done. I will probably come back sometime either tomorrow or in the next couple of days. Depending on how my days go, I'm kind of all over the place. Ideally, we'll pick up where I left off here for parsing. But you can... pinged all over the place. Don't put it in welcome. I told you where to put it. I told you to put it in development or gaming or show off. Go over there. Go post over there. Yeah, I will announce when I'm going live. I'll cover any development I do off stream, usually in the development channel here. So if I do any development off stream, I'm going to try to have it be improving the bits of the parser that we started off here to be a bit more flexible. We've got pretty flexible stuff here. I'm going to use what I've learned from this to make it a little bit better and move forward with that. This is exciting to watch and very inspiring. Thank you. I'm trying to inspire myself, I'm not going to lie. So we can inspire each other. You tell me it's inspiring, I feel inspired, I inspire you back. Let's go. Cyclic. So I'm probably going to, if I do anything off stream, continue parsing the other forms of import to get more of this syntax tree built up. And that will be documented partially in the development channel here. I'm going to do my best to not start working on using Clang to do anything. I want to do that on stream. I want to start doing the reading and transforming of the C syntax tree and, building that translation unit on stream. It might not be the next stream, I'll be honest, but I'm going to make sure to do that on stream if I can. But yeah, for the next little while, we're going to be parsing the language. Semantic analysis is going to be the much more interesting part, and I hope to get there in the next few weeks. So yeah, subscribe, join the Discord, stick around for that. Get recommended it randomly, I guess. I post when I go live in the announcements channel here. It's usually stupid shit like copying coding. It's going to be the same icon for a long time because I am not an image editor. If you're interested in what compilers, ask me any questions you want. I've been putting off getting back into writing my book on compilers. A few months ago, I was working on formatting things on the website here. I want to write a textbook on compiler construction. So if you guys are actually excited about compilers like I am, definitely feel free to discuss, ask any questions. It helps me have more context for what to put into this book, and maybe I write the book on stream some days instead of writing code. Back in February, if you check one of my playlists, I started writing a compiler for this very purpose. It was a very simplified compiler. We were going to go through all of the little nitty-gritty bits and pieces that you need to know about lexing, parsing, sema, code generation, all this kind of stuff. I need to pick that project back up. So there's a lot of good sources on making a compiler. I'm not entirely happy with all of them individually, so of course my new work is going to be what would something could I make something I would be happy with? And I don't entirely remember what it was like to not know how compilers worked, so having other people's opinions will make this a lot better. Feel free to talk about whatever the fuck you want. If you want a new channel to talk about something, ask me. I'll make it, probably. My top ones, the easiest one for people to get into is always crafting interpreters. And I based one of my website layouts on his layout here because I really liked this little sidebar design. It'll make you go blind if I pull it up, but I can try. If I go to nashiora.com/compilerbook/contents ? Yeah, I stole his layout and I just made it fucking neon pink like a dumbass. No one's gonna read this shit. If I change the colors, sure. Most of these are empty pages. I was just kind of working on making the site work. But craftinginterpreters.com, it is for interpreters, not compilers, but the first few stages of both are very much the same. There's lots of different nuances for every language and everything you could want. Yeah, it's a bytecode VM. I don't have any good resources on writing an actual backend. If you want to use LLVM, you can use their tutorial. Kaleidoscope. Implementing a language with LLVM, Kaleidoscope, I think, is one good spot. My first language frontend might be another link to it. You can Google Kaleidoscope with LLVM, and they have a very simple language that uses LLVM as its backend. Pascal Creator has a good book on compilers. I can't remember the name. I don't know what that is either. I have a resources channel here too. If you guys come across any good books, any good articles, videos, anything you want to share for other people's benefit, definitely put it there. Like, if you're watching the stream right now, we can go back to craftinginterpreters.com and be boom, look, resources. We've done it. We've done the thing. If I find any more, I will share them. I started to do some research back in February and March to kind of get an idea for what my audience might like, kind of deal. But off the top of my head, I have no idea. Sure, share some Prat Parser stuff. Most of what I've learned about compilers, I forgot where I learned it. So I don't have as much to share as I would like. I have to go rediscover things. And as I'm doing research for the compiler book, if I get back into it sometime soon, you should start seeing me post more things into resources as well, because I do want to do some real research and start citing things and base what I'm doing on other popular books for some things, not everything. Like if I don't like the book, I'm not going to base it on the book. But like if I want it to be successful, I got to do research, right? So anyway, I've got a lot of ambitions. We'll see how many of them come to fruition. My primary project is still this compiler. I've been working on it for entirely too long, and I just want the language to work. This C# version is just a bootstrap version. I have been working on a bootstrap compiler for the longest time. This is iteration like 10 of bootstrapping this language, and I like it more every time for the most part. The language gets better. The semantics of the internals all get better. My implementation gets better, but I'm hoping this is the one where it works. And we can start writing code in Laie. And I can make, I have other projects I want to work on in the future that I've just been putting off until I have my own language, so I can write them in that language. Like, I want to write a Git implementation. I have the building Git book. Yeah. I have this that I want to work through. I've got a whole book, building Git. They do it in Ruby, but we're going to translate it to Laie. This would be fun to do on stream. Build a Git implementation on stream by following along with this book. I want to do that. That's one of my to-do things. So hopefully I get to do that sometime soonish. Got a lot of fun things I want to do. Anyway, I'm running out of voice on top of being tired. I don't usually talk this much, and I have not been drinking enough water. Thank you guys for stopping by. This was a lot of fun. I liked the chat interaction. I don't normally get a lot of that. So I'll see you next time for either more parsing, or maybe, if we're lucky, doing C imports, which would be really cool.